Hello out there. Hi there. I don't see the countdown going, so I'm not sure if I'm on yet. I still don't see it going. I think I'm on now. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the finale of the legendary character journey. I am excited. I'm sure you're excited. We're all excited. Uh, Today is the day. We are going to be revealing the finalists. We have 10 stories to read. I don't want to waste a lot of time with fancies getting to them. So we're going to dive right into them. The character writing journey here. Whoop, I took a piece of my wall with me. Look at that. Okay. Legendary character journey. We asked you to sign up. You did. Because you signed up, you're going to be eligible for some prizes. I'm going to be giving away those in just a moment. We asked you to write a story that was 1,000 words long, no more. We gave you access to the story builder to help you brainstorm your story, and we asked for you to include a couple of obstacles. Now, I will say, people did really listen to what we said in terms of the tips and the tricks. Some of the obstacles are very quick. They come pretty much right at the beginning of the story. Remember, we have 1,000 words, right? And then there's an extra setback later on. It makes a lot of sense. For some of you, when you listen to these stories, you might think, wow, this is a little bit more subtle than I expected. Keep in mind, obstacles can be things that are not major villains or somebody dying or something like that. They can be setbacks. They can be things that cause the main character to need to grow and change. Yes, test of skills, etc., etc. Now, before I get to the finalists, as I said, we do have some wonderful prizes for you. And the prizes for this challenge are going to tie into some of the great offerings that we have later on this next month at AutoCrit. So, AutoCrit next month, we're going to be doing a lot of courses geared around fantasy, but also different workshops that can tie into many different genres as well. So we have our world building workshop, we have our fantastical creatures workshop, we have our story sorcery and the quest to write stronger fantasy. Of course, we're also going to have our young adult course. We're going to have our nightmare fuel course. So much opportunity out there. And as a result of participating in this challenge, you have an opportunity to win a complimentary bonus seat to one of these workshops. And you'll get an email and you'll be able to tell us which of them is most applicable to you, because these are genre specific sort of things. I would say. We want to give you the option to pick. We don't want to just spring one on you that isn't really relevant to where you're at. I will say though, even if you're not a horror writer, the horror course is great just for learning about writing about fear. The fantasy course is great if you're just trying to think outside the box a little bit, try some new things. Et cetera, et cetera. The world building course, of course, is going to be applicable to any genre. Any genre really includes some manner of world building. And the fantastical creatures, even if you write sci-fi, if you write anything that has a non-traditional animal, or even if you actually are writing typical animals, you're still going to learn from all of these classes. All right. Well, I don't want to hold you up now. I'm going to pull some names here. I'm going to pull a few names here from the challenge at random. If I can get my, it's very, very technical around here. Okay. We have an Excel spreadsheet with everybody who signed up, and we use a random number generator to pull out the winner. It's the equivalent of drawing names out of a hat. It's just the technological version. All right. So the winner of this is column 3196. And you're like, yes, that's me. No, you have absolutely no idea. Let me scroll down to column 3196. We had quite a lot of people enter this challenge. And that lucky winner is Michael. I have your I don't have a last name here, but I do have your email address. So yes, Michael, you are one of the winners here. Um, I will say, I don't want to give away the whole email address, but part of it is Moxie. Okay, so if you have Moxie in your email address, that's you. Because you're like, my name is Michael, it applies to me. All right, next one. Hopefully they gave me their full name so I can say their full name. The next one is number 1525. You're like, yes, it's me again. Um, this person is Christy, and there's also Durr. So that is you. Again, I don't think I have your full name. Christy Durr. There it is. I see it. Christy Durr. Christy Durr. Christy Durr, you're going to get an email in a little bit. Once I sign off here, I'll be sending those out to you, and you can let me know which of these workshops or courses you would like to take. 619. This is Jennifer, who has an email that starts with Pearl. Okay, she didn't give me a last name, but Jennifer was an email that starts with Pearl. She is also a winner. Fantastic. All right, 2,402. Making me scroll around here. That's good though. True randomness, right? Connor Drake. Connor Drake. That name sounds familiar. I think I might know you. I think you might have gone to some of these courses before. All right. 1085. 1085. If you have like an all access pass or something, we'll figure out something. We'll give you like a story doctor or something since you already can attend all of these things. All right, this one is an email that starts with M95116. So very very mysterious. Okay, we're gonna do a couple more here. 1526. 1526 is wow, it's right after the other one. Look at that. What are the odds? The email is spiced up colors. Spiced up colors. I like your email. And then 39. 39. Going towards the beginning here. Somebody who signed up early. This person is Winnie Hernandez. Winnie Hernandez. Congratulations to you. Awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic. Um, what's this fine dude's name again? My name is Daniel. I'm your host this evening or this afternoon. I am, in fact, live. Yep, Shirley. I am. Shirley, you can't be live. No, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're sick of hearing that. I apologize. Uh, if I was really embracing the fantasy, I'd be using a crystal ball for the surnames. You know, I don't play that. It's like I'm getting a name. It's an S. No, I don't do that. But congratulations to all of you. If you would like to join us though for any of these offerings, you did not have a chance of winning. You can always find out more down here at this link, and you can learn more about our fantasy writing package. But I know what you're here for are the finalists. So I'm going to go ahead to the finalists. How many entries were there? We had about 70 entries. So a fair amount. And I will say it was tough. It's always tough picking the finalists for the challenge because we have a lot of very talented writers. So I always like to preface this with saying, if you were not in fact chosen, please do not let it be discouraging. There's lots of factors that go into this decision, and just a lot of various things. Please consider personal taste, consider all kinds of things. All right, don't worry about it. All right. That being said, let's look at this first example. Let's just go right into it. All right. Wait, this is hold on here. I'm looking at the wrong. It's right there on the screen. It's not right on me. All right. We're going to go here. There we go. This is Little Miss Trojan Beckle. Deep in the heart belt of asteroids, Tony Megaloff's mouth guard kept his teeth from shattering and inside shook like jello. He struggled to keep the jackhammer upright. His genius younger brothers had the bright idea to give him the heaviest machine without wheels. Everything ached. Besides his helmet sliding down over his eyes, the sculptures dissipated under the pounding chisel. He demolished the stone into rubble and shoved the slag crystals onto the conveyor belt, which shimmied up the wasteland. A momentary break charged what little energy he had left, interrupting the grueling mining rhythm. He shook out the hand burrs and leaned on the hammer cap. The stars provided some inner peace. The itchy sweat dropped flowed off his nose. His water-saturated breather filter gurgled. Tony's two brothers approached 2 hours into the first shift, spilling a fresh pile of slag to perform their daily heckling. You brang your circus act, Beckett told Tony's other brother, Brickett. It seemed most of the Beas's ideas Tony had mentioned a similar case 3 months before. Despite the firstborn, he felt no respect from the business brothers. The dome provided some shielding from the harshness of space, but the cold still seeped in. The harsh conditions degraded the full environmental suits from Tony's body heat. The boy seems to love the absurd, Brickett said. Tony tossed a rock at the brothers, but the unbalanced jackhammer dragged him to the ground. The helmet obstructed his aim. The slackers laughed while they tossed rocks randomly in the air. Look, Beckett, I'm mining, Brickett said. Break. He grabbed his sandwich and juicer soda kit from Tony's gear trailer and tossed a packet over to Beckett. Thanks, Beckett said. Dad would not be happy. Tony straightened his suit's stiff, calm wire woven into the leg seam. Dad is not here, Brickett said. He dumped Tony's trailer and hooked it up to the conveyor, drawing it back to the refiner's shed. You're our lackey now. They insinuated Troy exerted unnecessary instructions over them while the father was alive. That was the furthest from the truth. They seemed to think Tony owned them and needed taught a lesson. He humbly took their abuse and turned his head. Sometimes he was grateful for a slower wit and thought late to spar with their snarky attitudes in order not to make the environment any more uninhabitable. If he found some words to jostle the tables, Tony didn't see any effective remorse. How did you lug the Brute 3000 over the slug piles? Brickett asked while giving Beckett a wink and knuckle knock on the midsection. Tony, quietly seeking approval, opened a side panel in the jack and smiled. I disconnected some magneto power coils off the junk 219er dozer. Putting junk in the trunk will not last very long. Beckett half pulled Tony up along with the jackhammer. I would have used the Trojan Beckle. She'll rip through the stone like there's no tomorrow. Yup, because you'll be done before then, Brickett grinned. You gave me this, Jack. Tony stabilized the machine and fogged up his mask. He hoped the finger pushers were done with their fun. Beckett helped him put the backpack back on and made sure Tony used the hydration lube. Beckett sat on the conveyor belt and rode up the glistening slag. Sorry, I scheduled the Beckle drill processor for tunnel J3. All your size hammers are headed for the scrap. Beckett also squatted and traveled on the moving belt. As the switchers jollied back to duty, the mining machines drowned out their glibbering schemes. Adrenaline coursed through Tony's veins. He wondered how many blisters the brothers worked into their hands while shooting ball at the recreation hall instead of staring at mining monitor stations. Despite his mining suit provisions, its tanks needed dumping and a scrub. After breaking back to work, his muscles stiffened. According to the numbers, his progress made records. A deep pressure fizzled from a mounting stress. Even though the Brute 3000 jackhammer looked ancient, it was well worth its weight. Beckett's schedule showed the Red Maiden, baby girl, Miss Trojan Beckle rolled out the shop at third shift. Tony wiped his forearm over his forehead, and with a heavy sigh, he shut the machine off. A red indicator light blinked on his arm band. A third of the second shift had passed. He just crumpled 400 megatons of crystalline material. Let the bees top that load of gems. What team? He was the production team. You're suing again, he interrupted himself, right when his heart rate relaxed a bit. Who calls? Brickett. Tony, what's going on? Your hammer break again? Shutting down for today, boss. The west pile is processed. Hold up, buddy. We signed the Brainerd contract, so I need the cliffs done by tomorrow. No way. You two should be, Beckett radioed back. Logistics, a mile high. Over. But Tony bent on his knees and massaged his chest. They should be fired. He lifted his mask and slipped water from a tube. He had all the old stuff, but he really needed a space helmet, robo legs, and a bigger shovel. Wait, how did they sign without my signature? The heavy machinery shed lingered in the valley, a mild walk. Time for a little maintenance and R&R. He dropped all the hanging tools, but drug the small water tank up the belt steps. The next morning, the bothering BSs marched down to blame Tony, but faced a blank cliff. Tony sat on the Trojan processor with a smile. They turned back to the office. Beckett whacked Brickett on the back of the head as they left. I borrowed Miss Beckle for a cliff demonstration, Tony said a little loud. A screwbiter does the job. As the BSs retreated, Beckett said, can't solve everything with a hammer. All right, so that is our first story here. Oh, sorry if I was scrolling a little bit farther. I'll try to be careful about that. Okay. The next one is called Getting the Story. The car slows at a security checkpost. A guard looks in. Marilyn stares straight ahead. At that moment, she heeds the advice that her mother once gave her. Marilyn, dear, the haughtier you appear, the less likely you are to be doubted. In the absence of a real invitation, she waves an empty envelope at the guard, feigning a disinterested expression, careful not to make eye contact. The guard waves her through. The Fiat pull under the porte cochere. Marilyn alights from the car and turns towards the palace entry. In measured steps, she strides forward and with purpose. As she enters the palace, a mischievous grin escapes as she listens to the clack of her heels on the marble floor. Marilyn discreetly slips the Leica from her purse and moves to where President Tito and MME Bras await the guests of honor. President Nasser and Prime Minister Nehru. She grabs a few shots. Energized and sure-footed, Marilyn quickly climbs up the stairs to the gallery that overlooks the ballroom. Suddenly, she is pounced upon a pair of black-suited security guards. How dare you come up here? It is not permitted, one shouts at her, ordering her to return to the ballroom. Descending the stairs to rejoin the press corps, Marilyn is met by two other security men in dinner jackets. They ask to see her invitation. She searches her purse, then turns to Perlo, one of the other photographers who had been watching the scene unfold. You have my invitation, don't you? She asks, feigning surprise with a tinge of indignation. I think you left it with your shawl, the Swede rejoins, picking up on the unfolding intrigue. Come with us, one of the men orders with a hint of menace. I'm sure I left it in the cloakroom, she says, trying to be earnest, and not so convincingly. After a few moments, one of the men snaps. Do you have an invitation? It was one of those terrible sharp pinpoints in time. There was nobody else around. They were in a section of the palace that seemed far from the others, and Marilyn thinks, here I am, alone, with two suspicious security officers in what is her first Iron Curtain country, and in the palace of the president, and without evidence of permission to be there. She thinks to herself, should I keep on bluffing, or should I tell the truth and throw myself at their mercy? Right then, a rather serious-looking man steps into the room. The security guard recognized him and he seemed chastened by his sudden arrival. The man says something to him in Siberian and they promptly leave. You have some good friends here, the man says quietly. He nods towards the door and then pilots Marilyn out to the terrace and the safety of the press corps. Perlo had seen the security men follow Marilyn and alerted one of the diplomatic press officers. I saw it coming, he tells her, the minute you went upstairs. The incident draws considerable attention to Marilyn, who, as an inspiring journalist, is meant to report on the business of the event and not to be a focus of it. Not seeing anyone at the head table, she asks a waiter where the hosts have gone. They left for their private quarters, the waiter replies, nodding towards the stairs that Marilyn has come to know so well. Following the waiter's gaze, Marilyn thanks him and slowly walks toward the stairs. Not seeing anyone watching her, once again, she bounds up the steps to the beginning of the corridor that had earlier drawn her attention. Halt! Halt! You cannot be here! Pounding footsteps approach. The same security men are on the move again. Fearing another encounter would land her in an Iron Curtain prison, Marilyn runs down the corridor, hoping to find sanctuary in one of the closed rooms. As the guards catch up with her, she turns one more handle, pushes the door open, turns and closes it behind her. Marilyn spins around to find sitting on sofas and staring back at her, President and Madame Tito, President Nasser and Prime Minister Nehru, their raised coffee cups seemingly in suspended animation. The two security men open the door and grab Marilyn by both arms. President Tito raises a hand signaling for them to stop. We're all right. You may go, he says and waves them off. Tito turns in his chair. You are an American, he asks. She swallows hard, her arms crossed over each other, holding herself tightly. Yes, she replies. Newspaper woman? Yes. Which paper? Tito asks her. Newsweek. She replies confidently, knowing her response not to be quite truthfully. Ah, Newsweek, exclaims Tito. Ah, Newsweek, beams Nasser. Sensing a thaw in the atmosphere, Marilyn raises her Leica to her chin and raises her eyebrows. May I? She asks somewhat coyly. The two leaders nod and smile. The evening event having officially ended, the members of the press corps return to the Moskva and gather at the bar to drink rakia for the rest of the night. Marilyn, the only woman present, joins in the reverie. She had arrived in Belgrade on little more than a dare that she imposed on herself. Could she really handle a reporting assignment without structures, without contracts, and truly with an actual assignment? She had known nothing about what she was getting into. She thought of being nearly thrown in prison and was grateful for the efforts of others willing to support her deception. This happened, she reflects as she flops onto the bed, her eyes closed shut as her head hits the pillow. That afternoon, Marilyn gets her film rolls developed and captioned and delivers them to the Newsweek office. The story made the cover that week. That's called Getting the Story. All right, next one. This one's called Bad Choices. This was how I was going to die. I was going to get murdered because I couldn't pass up the chance for a free house. But it was a 4-bed, 2.5 bath house with a monthly stipend, and the alternative was living out of my car. Grandma's lawyer, the mysterious Mr. Harbinger, sat in front of me and was possibly the devil. He was dressed to kill in a suit that hugged his skeleton thin frame and was grinning wide enough to crack his face. His screaming eyes bugged out as he steepled his fingers over his untouched cup of coffee. As he waited for my answer, his right cheek muscle started to twitch. That was probably fine. What's the catch? I asked, taking a long draught of my caramel macchiato. It was heavenly, and even better for the fact that he had paid for it. There is a catch, he chittered in a way that might have been a laugh. I glanced to my side to make sure I had an open escape route if I need be. The house and the money are yours as long as you never open the door. I raised an eyebrow. What door? The door to the basement. His eyes went wide, emphasizing how bloodshot they were. Whatever this guy was on, I didn't want any. To open the door means death for you and suffering for the world. Right. Well, he was nuts, but free house. What if there's an electrical problem and I need to check the breaker box? He blinked and his voice was suddenly much more normal. The breaker box is in the laundry room at the back of the house. What about plumbing? What if there's a leak somewhere? What? His mad grin slipped away and his frown said he was insulted by the banality of the question. Look, there's no electricity, plumbing, or anything else you need to deal with. It's all unspeakable evil and death. That's it. Do you want the house or not? Taking the house would almost certainly result in death because this guy was going to murder me in my sleep or something like that. A new lease on life wasn't worth much if it only lasted a day. No. Thanks anyway. I got up, grabbed my coffee, and started for the door. Harbinger called after me but didn't follow. I still hightailed it to my car, just in case. I'd parked in an alleyway a street over to avoid the parking meters. It had been a risk, but I was rewarded with the car still being there. As I fumbled to get the fob out of my pocket, a hiss that set my hair on end rattled out of a shadow behind the dumpster. I froze. He's lying to you. The voice was slithery, toneless. Nope, I said and turned on my heel to walk right back to the sidewalk. Well, wait, where are you going? Something like the silhouette of a head poked out from behind the dumpster. Yeah, I've had enough weirdness today without the disembodied voices. Bye. No, wait, I have a body and news about the house. The voice changed to a painfully deep man's voice, and a 7-foot figure stood in a black cloak, unfolded itself from what should have been insufficient cover. My head tilted to the side. What the hell was Grandma involved in? The figure started to chuckle weirdly, but stopped when I started to walk away again. She had a treaty with foul powers. The one you saw was lying to you. To open the door would bring you great riches and power. I raised an eyebrow. How? What do you mean, how? Even beneath the heavy cloak, I could tell the broad shoulders slumped. Is there a buried treasure down there or something? And how can I trust your word over his? You're both creepy. Tell me one solid, uncrazy reason I shouldn't run away from the whole situation. I put my hands on my hips. Shadow figure paused, fussed with something under his cloak, then held out a wad of bills. I will pay you $1,000 to accept the house and open the door. You don't even have to stay there. On the one hand, this was a bad idea. On the other hand, I had $14 to last me the rest of the week. Fine. Excuse me. My hand was cramped from signing things, but as soon as all the paperwork went through, I owned a house. A nice house, too. The stipend wasn't much more than it took for food and bills, but for the first time in a year, I didn't have to worry about where my next meal came from. The forbidden door was even nicely marked with a bunch of weird symbols and was tucked out of the way in the corner of the kitchen. I didn't open it right away. I figured I'd wait a while, get a job, save up money just in case. Before I knew it, a month passed and nothing bad had happened. Then there the note appeared. It was pinned in my mailbox with a sharp stick through the aluminum and said, "Open the door and give me back my money." I couldn't really afford it, but I didn't want to open the door. I had a good thing going. I also didn't want to stiff the big creepy shadow man. I bit the bullet and drained my savings to put $1,000 in my mailbox, stuffed it in an envelope addressed to Dumpster Jerk. After that, I saved up money again to have the door bricked over and put up shelves in front of it. I took one risk to get a better life. I wasn't about to gamble with what I had. And that one's called Bad Choices. All right. Next story. This one's called Lily. Being the new kid in school feels like being a contestant on The Voice, hoping someone will pick me. Of course they won't. I've heard the whispers. They think I'm strange and I don't have the nerve to walk up and say hello. So I'm sitting alone at this table at the cafeteria. "Hi, can I sit with you?" Stunned, I look up and nod. I think this girl is in my English class. "My name's Emma. You're the new girl. Can't you talk or do you just not want to?" I don't care either way. My mom says I talk enough for everyone. Emma, she says, let someone get a word in edgewise. So if you want to say something, interrupt me. I won't mind. I can't stop the laugh that erupts from my mouth. Yes, I can talk, and I'm Lily. Thanks for sitting with me. No worries. You looked a little lonely over here. You need to join a club. Come with me to the drama club this afternoon. Fear, instant and pure, hits me. No, I can't get up on a stage in front of people and talk. That's okay. You can be part of the stage crew. The club meets after school in the auditorium. Please come. It's 4 o'clock, and I'm standing outside the auditorium trying to work up the courage to enter. A guy behind me says, "Go in and get out of the way." I step aside. "At least you aren't deaf as well as mute," he says. "Wow, that was harsh even for you, Ethan," says the boy with him. "You should apologize." I can hear Ethan laughing as he goes through the doorway. "Why? She'll never come in. She's too scared." What a jerk. I'm so going to join the club now. "Lily, over here," Emma calls out, waving her arms as I enter. OMG, she means well, but I hate being the center of attention. I'm almost next to her when I trip. Ethan snickers. I turn and look at him. "What? The cat got your tongue?" he says. I keep looking at him, slowly raising one eyebrow. This always works when my mother does it. Sure enough, Ethan looks down and walks away. Mr. Stevens, the drama teacher, walks by and says, "Good use of nonverbal communication." Embarrassed because I'm once again the center of attention, I sit down next to Emma and try to disappear. Emma is pretty, outgoing, and fun. You'd think with her around, no one would notice me. It'd be easy to fade into the background where I'm comfortable. This would be true if Emma didn't insist on bringing me front and center with her in drama club, English class, and the hallways. Nowhere is safe. It isn't so much that I'm shy, though I am. The thing is, I like being in the background. My task is taking care of the props to make sure I have the right ones for each scenes. I've studied the script as much as the actors have. I know every line of the play and whisper them to myself backstage during rehearsals. Ethan's on stage, and again, he can't remember his lines. Does he ever study his script? "Lily, what's Ethan's line?" asked Mr. Stevens. Yikes, I didn't realize he was behind me. It's, "Give it up, Dan. You know it isn't going to work." Thank you. Did you hear that, Ethan? Yeah, barely. Good, Lily. Come with me. I follow Mr. Stevens down to the auditorium seats. He motions for me to sit beside him and says, "I've noticed you know all the lines to the play. I'd like you to be our prompter. That will require you to speak loud enough for the actors to hear you. Can you do that?" It's been a month since Mr. Stevens asked me to be the prompter, and I've never interacted with so many people as I have these last few weeks. I must be improving because the other students don't look at me in surprise anymore when I walk up to behind them and begin talking. I become his right hand person, sitting beside him during rehearsals, writing down his decisions on blocking, scene changes, and stuff like that. It's become my job to relay his instructions to all the stage teams, make sure the actors have costume fittings, and do anything else he wants done. The program's arrived, he says, handing me one. I made a change to the page with the credits. See if you approve. There are the names of the actors, the director, and wait a minute, stage director Willie Matthews. I look up at him, my eyes misting. It's what you are. We wouldn't be ready if it weren't for you, he says. Today is the last rehearsal. Everyone's sitting in the auditorium, and Mr. Stevens is on stage telling us his expectation. His phone rings. I have to take this, he says. Lily, come up here and finish giving the instructions. I'm sure you have some words of encouragement for everyone, too. My head snaps up. What? He walks to the edge of the stage, shakes his notes at me, and raises both eyebrows. Ethan says to someone, Bet you $5 she can't do it. On wobbly legs, I make my way up the stage and take his notes. I can't tell what's louder, my knees knocking or the notes crinkling in my shaking hands. They're the ones I type for him. I can do this. Clearing my throat, I begin talking. 15 minutes later, I'm saying, You all worked hard. The sets are fantastic. The costumes are perfect. Actors, outstanding work. I'm proud of all of you. Places, everyone. Let's do this. Their applause is wonderful and validating, but I have to admit, seeing Ethan put $5 into Emma's hand makes my day. And that was Lily. All right. Next story. Sorry. 6-1. The weatherman predicted a sparkling day, but called it wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. I scrolled down too far. Let's try it again. The weatherman predicted a sparkling day, but called it wrong. Rain gushed from rolling dark clouds, drowning the last baseball game of my high school career and my dreams with it. Water ran down my Marini bat, sorry, as they tapped it against the side of my left cleat. A thick mud slurry dripped off and splashed into a puddle outside the batter's box. 4 years of training, dozens of emails to college coaches, and only one reply from a tiny Division III school. Their assistant scout sat in the stands under an oversized green umbrella. Whenever I glanced at him, he laughed and chuckled into his phone. Squeezing my bat tight, I checked coach at third. Let's go, Paxton. Drive one. In a ready, steady stance, I locked a steel gaze on the opposing pitcher, Nico Lee. How did he get a Division I commit to the University of Virginia? Where did I go wrong? With a quick windup, he delivered a low curve. Ball. Scoreboard lights flickered through the downpour, giving me no comfort to our 6-0 lead. My first shot at pitching a no-hitter shutout, and I had already struck out Nico twice. Yet it would all end today. A four-seam fastball slapped the catcher's mitt. Strike! Damn, no doubt the scout saw me that time. My teammate shouted, Let's go, Pax! A full windup from Nico, and he pushed hard off the mound. Leaning into my loaded stance, I tracked the ball straight at me. Batters only have 125 milliseconds to react to a pitch, less than half an eye blink. Too late. His hardest fastball cracked into my left elbow, spinning me to the ground. The umpire motioned me to first. Sprawled out in mud, I couldn't help but writhe in pain. The rain stopped as coach ran up. You okay? Where'd it hit? I winced. Elbow. How bad? Don't know. Okay, let's call it quits, Pax. I scanned for the scout, but found an empty seat. Shaking my head, I exhaled a deep breath. No, coach, it can't end like this. Let's put Tommy on the mound, he said. No, I've got a no-hitter to finish. Okay, no-hitter. Shut out. He helped me stand to a chorus of feeble, wet claps. Mud dripped down my backside, and I stretched my arm while walking to first base. Nico raised his hands. It slipped. Yeah, right. The sun darted amongst the clouds, steaming the grass where its rays fell. My feet hugged the bag, but Nico threw 3 quick strikes to end the inning. Back in the dugout, I glugged warm water down my throat and splashed my mildewy jersey before I headed out to warm up. There, coach barked the batting order. Parker, Allen, Lee. Oh, yes, what a dream finale to end with a Nico Lee strikeout. The first batter struck out against my two-seam fastball, slider, and curve. Easy. Nico warmed up on deck. The second batter chased my changeup and lost. Nico strode to the plate, and I rubbed mud off the ball, staring him down. Ump, Timeout, their coach shouted. Got a sub. He whispered to Nico, then patted his shoulder. Campos in for Lee. What the hell? Nico returned to the dugout, and a thin boy with an oversized helmet limped into the batter box. Their coach took third and shouted, Henry, need a hit here, kid. A mom leaned into the fence with her phone. You can do it, Henry. I wound up and Henry held his bat over the plate. Adjusting mid stride, I extended my arm so the ball sailed low. It blazed past the shaky bat. Strike. Come on, kid, do something. Swing. My next pitch elevated and whizzed past him. Strike. Let's go, Henry, the crowd chanted. One more pitch for a perfect game. It hasn't happened since 1983, they told me. Henry stood tall and proud, steadying his bat. In the middle of my windup, I spotted his mom from the corner of my eye, recording the moment. Slowing my motion, I aimed right for his bat. The ball floated and struck it with a loud thunk, a sound that I would never forget. The crowd erupted in deafening cheer as the ball rolled to me. Run, Henry! His feet slapped into the ground with a shaky gait. He ran by as I scooped the ball and launched it 4 feet above the first baseman. It flew down the line into the deepest corner of right field. What the? The right fielder yelled and sprinted after it. Henry rounded first to cries from teammates, fans, and his mom. He bounded past second, then third, and I intercepted the throw. Running towards home, I leaped to touch him before he slid across the plate. The glove tagged his foot, but I opened it and dropped the ball. Safe! Henry beamed while his teammates crashed onto the field and lifted him high. A glint of sunlight on the scoreboard caught my eye. 6-1. The crowd dispersed, and I stood alone on the mound, soaking a last moment with the field I loved. Henry and his mom walked out to me. Thank you, she said. You pitched an amazing game. Thank you, ma'am. Great hit, Henry. He smiled, and I tapped the bill of his hat. Can I send this video to my daughter? She runs social media for Virginia Tech Athletics. Sure, no problem. My right cleat scraped the dirt. She's dating a baseball player and knows their coach. I can ask her to send it to him. I'd like that. Where are you committed? No offers yet. The sun poked out from a cloud and I squinted. Really? They could use a player like you. Let me see what I can do. Come on, Henry, let's go. They turned and she drew him close, asking, Wasn't this an amazing day? Sparkling, he replied. All right, that was 6-1. Let's go to the next one. This is called The Truth is in the Lies. Kathleen Branagh stared at the bundle of documents as if they might catch fire where they sat. She chewed the edge of her nail, nose wrinkling at the musty scent found in old houses and the pungent odor of fear combined with grief and disbelief. Overwhelmed, she stomped down the stairs. The past should have stayed where she found it, in the back of a cluttered closet with moth-eating baby clothes and stained photographs. Decaying flowers dropped petals onto a neatly folded newspaper, the picture of the fiery crash that claimed her parents on display beneath the bold type headline. Tears threatened to jump the border of her eyelashes. Kathleen angrily swept them away. The loss was numbed by distance and time. Her family's more strangers than relatives. If it weren't for her chubby cheeks showcased on the mantle, this could have been anyone's home. But it wasn't. It was hers, and she wished a random lightning strike would take it all away. Lucas Morgan sat in the shadows of the old oak, idly tracing the weathered letters carved into the ancient trunk. A once familiar figure passed by the living room window in the house across the way. He wondered if she remembered him, thought about him the way he had about her. 21 years is a long time to stay gone, yet not nearly long enough. She shouldn't have come back. Kathleen shuddered as if touched by a ghost. Not impossible, considering the circumstances. Reluctantly, she turned back to her task, grabbing random items and shoving them into boxes. Knickknacks were thrown in with clothes, fake flowers smashed by coffee table books of places she had been stationed. A bitter reminder of the career that had been snatched from her by innuendo and outright lies. She endured 3 days of sideways glances and silent glares before the senior agents declared her guilty by association. A mountain of disinformation stood between her and redemption, forcing Kathleen to resign or face charges of treason. The allegations were unfounded, nothing more than idle gossip, but the adage, where there's smoke, had prevailed. At the center of the controversy laid Patrick Corrigan, her fiance, who had been seen visiting the home of an associate who may or may not have ties to an international secret organization. It was absurd, of course, as Kathleen knew acquaintances. She had to. It was her job to know. The man was a former schoolmate of hers and no threat to anyone. But you can't prove a negative. The slander train took off. If she knew about the contact, she must be on the alleged transfer of national secrets. If she didn't know, she wasn't very good at her job, letting her lover fool her like that. With no way to salvage anything of her life, either professional or personal, she walked away. A week later, Kathleen slept alone in a tiny hotel room, possessions in storage, and her life in tatters. Coming home involved many emotions. Tired of digging through her family history, she stood at the front window, lifting the edge of the curtain to stare out into the night. The red glow of a lit cigarette sparked, highlighting a dark figure leaning against the tree. Kathleen stepped back, gingerly letting the fabric fall into place. The answer lay in those documents, the presence of indication and a curse. If only she wasn't so afraid to ask the questions. Lucas cursed as he crushed the filter under his heel. Slip ups like that could get a man killed. It would serve him well to remember that Kathleen was a grown woman and a highly trained operative, much like himself. He slunk deeper into the shadows before running into the safety of his car. Maybe she hadn't seen him, but if she had, he had a bitter choice to make. And if Kathleen found the papers Patrick sent to her father for safekeeping, Lucas would soon be found out. He prayed his contact hadn't been stupid enough to implicate him in the transfer or put his name in one of the reports. If Corrigan had named names, it wouldn't be just Lucas's career going up in smoke. Pulling the file closer, Kathleen grimaced before opening the first file. Disbelief was rapidly replaced by the gut punch of betrayal. Flipping through phone records, transcriptions, and bank statements, they left her little choice but to sweep everything she had believed and accept the truth of the rumors. Her colleagues had been right after all. With all the blinders of love stripped from her eyes, Kathleen could now see the pattern Patrick had worked so hard to hide from her. Crash! The sound of breaking glass echoed through the house. Kathleen shot to her feet, the pages scattering over the dusty floor, her hand reaching for the non existent holster. Scrambling for a weapon, her eyes glanced across a sheet of paper, the familiar handwriting forcing the final piece into the puzzle. The door creaked open. Hello, lover, Patrick said. He looked at the mess, spying the one page he needed. With his handgun, he gestured to Kathleen. Be a dear and pick that up for me. Lucas crept up the stairs, much as he had as a teenager. Cautiously peering around the doorframe, he spied Kathleen bending over to grab the note. Patrick loomed over her, pistol aimed at the back of her quivering head. Kathleen's eyes, brimming with tears, met his. Help me, she mouthed before standing to face her former fiance. Bang! Bang! As the echoes faded, Kathleen lay in a heap on the bloody floor. Lucas strolled over to Patrick's twitching body and raised his gun. Bang! Flat stones marked two fresh graves as the lone mourner limped out of the cemetery. Bing! Text message. Congratulations, Agent Branagh. I hear your mole hunt was successful. Debrief at 0800 tomorrow. Kathleen put her phone away. Time to go home. That was the truth in the lies. All right. Next one is Welcome to the Future. Hold on here. A weary Dr. Olivia Reed sat alone in her cluttered laboratory reading the same obituary for the fourth time. Stacks of research papers scattered haphazardly across the desk might have given the casual observer the impression she was unorganized. Her office was a bridge master's unsorted hand. Organizing it would only give her eager rivals a hint about the card she held. The equations scrawled against the whiteboard would make sense only to those who had studied cryodynamics, a combination of math, science, and history that fans of Isaac Asimov's Foundation trilogy might think was invented by Harry Seldon. It wasn't. The term cryodynamics was originally coined in 2003 by Calvin Turchin, emeritus professor at the University of Connecticut. Researchers in the field apply a dynamic systems approach to social sciences using advanced mathematical techniques. Calvin Bunt was Turchin's last protege and the subject of the obituary she could not bring herself to put down. It was only a week ago that her heart leaped when Calvin called her. He'd finished his analysis, his findings undisputable, and the impending collapse of the United States only decades away. Reading the obit another time would not change her belief that Calvin had been murdered. A gas leak? Really? A gas leak blew up him and his lab right as he was on the verge of an explosive prediction? Olivia scratched her head. I'm an untenured professor at a small university. What's a 5'5", 110-pound desk jockey like me supposed to do with unsubstantiated suspicions? Getting involved was not Olivia's forte. She was a classic conflict avoider. She'd imagined taking action, but was better at creating excuses than joining crusades. She tossed the newspaper into the trash and stared at her whiteboard. The same thing always jumped out, the set of equations that Calvin had helped her with when he stopped by a week ago. He had no clue how she felt about him. A knock at the door interrupted the trance she had slipped into. I have a package, the delivery man said. Leave it on the chair, she replied. You'll have to sign for it. Okay, bring it over. She didn't recognize the returned address, but the handwriting was identical to Bunt's writing on her board. Why would Calvin send her anything? Compared to him, she was a nobody. Could it be personal? Excited, she grabbed her favorite letter opener and eased it under the envelope's flap. The single sheet of paper inside, a plain 8.5 by 11 letter size, held a hand drawn map. What am I supposed to do with this? Olivia wondered. The phone startled her. Unknown caller. Normally she would hit the ignore button, but instead she answered. Hello? Olivia, it's Calvin Bunt. So much for a murder theory. Did you get the map? Yes. The future needs you. I don't understand. Study the map, the professor replied. The phone disconnected with a boom. For the second time, Olivia believed Calvin had been murdered. This time, he'd left her a clue. She chewed on a nub of a fingernail. I should quit chewing my nails and call the police, she murmured. Though I could do as he asked and study the map first. Where to begin? No compass rose oriented the page. No legend explained the symbols. No destination identified with a big X marked the spot. Olivia sighed. And no explanation why Calvin thinks I can figure this out. She rotated the page 90 degrees. Nothing. Another 90. Nada. Another turn. Bubkiss. Or not. She had seen this map before. One like it hung in the foyer of the archaeology department's office. She wanted to hand the map over to the police and return to her research. Instead, she grabbed her jacket and purse and marched off to the stately old building that houses the archaeology department. Shaking her head, she muttered, Calvin, what have you gotten me into? As she stood in front of the map, she understood. The original had a plaque that read, donated by Calvin Bunt, followed by a symbol that was part of the equation he'd written on her whiteboard. Olivia pressed on the symbol. A small drawer opened in the frame. A thumb drive. An urge to act, not study, overcame her. She found the nearest computer, inserted the drive, and waited for it to load. When the screen went from black to blue, the words, Welcome to the future, filled it. A rectangular box in the lower right blinked password. Again, no need for study, Olivia understood. Dr. Bunt had underlined a portion of the equation on her board. This is the key, he said as if he were hiding something. No need to dash back to her office and double check. She'd been staring at that series of characters every day, haunted by their underlying message, seeing them in her dreams, hearing them recited in the constant patter of her morning shower. She hesitated. Whatever was on this drive most likely led to Calvin's death. There would be no turning back if she unlocked the data. She entered the password. After all, she had dedicated her life to understanding how to predict future events. Welcome to the future, she said as she hit enter. Olivia plowed through the pages of equations. When she got to the end, she had to admit that within 2 decades, the United States would be no longer the land of the free. Calvin had not been murdered. Calvin had escaped to another dimension. He had left her instructions should she care to join him. Olivia ejected the data stick. Calvin has a funny way of asking me on a date, she whispered. She couldn't fix the world, but she could seek a new one where she and Calvin had a future. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, that was Welcome to the Future. Next one is Catfish. Hi, my name is Riley, and I rob little old ladies. Larry. Helen, I'm sorry we didn't connect last week. Something came up, but I wanted to know if you got that quilt done for your grandson. Helen doesn't know I'm a 15-year-old skinny girl with stringy blonde hair. She thinks I'm Larry, a 60-year-old man with soulful blue eyes and brown gray hair graying at the temples. Helen, darling, I thought you forgot about me. Yes, I finally got the quilt done for what it's worth. I know you're judging me, but have you ever been 14 and living in a home so hellish you had to run away? I'm a good person, but sleeping under bridges is scary, and the only opportunities I saw to make money involved selling drugs or myself. I'm lucky. I met Trey and he told me about this place. The pay is minimum wage, but they ignore stuff like me only being only 15. Larry. Dearest, I can never forget you. My son is in the hospital again. It's taking up a lot of my time. Wasn't the quilt appreciated? Lisa again? You're picturing me working out of someone's basement, I bet. But it's a fancy office building with telesupport painted on the door. My cubicle has short padded walls to muffle sounds, and 3 monitors sit on my desk. High tech software keeps notes, creates instant AI photos of Larry on his yacht, or makes me look like Larry on video calls. I just wish Helen didn't remind me of Grandma. Watch out, Riley. Here comes Bert, Trey warns me. Bert is the operations manager. I'm not good at my job. I never hit my money targets. I quickly type one of my other marks, hoping he doesn't focus on Helen. Bert stands so close that my head bumps up against a part of his anatomy I don't wish to talk about. His stale coffee breath assaults my nose as he speaks. Who is your focus today, Riley? I'm talking to Joyce right now. I text Joyce a quick message. Bert says, "Remember, our research indicates that Helen just sold her house. Get the 5 grand from her today before her son talks her into the trust he's been researching." It's the same conversation we've had every day this week, but today he adds a sinister twist. He leans in, and the weight of his hand pushes my chair back so his hot, stale breath creeps around my neck. It's your last chance. I expect him to say more, but he appears distracted by a noise at the office entrance. Bert immediately focuses on the men in suits who just walked in, and he scurries to his office. Helen. Lisa's only comment was, "The quilt's blue? That's not gender neutral. But tell me about your son. I thought he was in remission." Okay, Riley, I tell myself you can do this. I type was in remission, but not now. Lisa doesn't appreciate how amazing you are. I don't hit send though. My grandmother's name is Helen too. My stepdad Greg is Helen's son. A few years after my mom married him, he convinced Helen to support a shady business and she lost everything. Ruining his mother is one of Greg's many faults. After I ran away, they gave my grandma custody of my little brother. Grandma wanted me to come live with her too, but she can only afford a studio apartment with roaches. It's hard enough for her to feed Jimmy. I can't send the note to Helen. I retype it. Larry. Lisa doesn't deserve a mother in law like you. The suited men leave Bert's office. I make the mistake of looking up and catching Bert's eye. He gestures for me to go to his office. Inside the office, Bert leans against his desk. I remain standing. We're moving offices. There's been a situation. I protest. I didn't say anything to anyone. I never. He interrupts. No one is saying it's you, but to be safe, we're only telling our best sellers the new location. And you, my dear, are not one of our best sellers. He steps close to me and I retreat a step. Update your notes today. You'll get your last paycheck on the way out. He lays his hand on my shoulder and squeezes. Unless we make other arrangements. My body involuntarily shudders. I shrug off his damp hand. I'll make my notes. I practically fall out of his office and run to the safety of my chair. I've been fired. Fired from robbing people. Back at my desk, I have a text from Helen. Helen, Larry, darling, I care about your son. Please tell me what's up. This Helen isn't my grandmother, Helen. $10,000 would put grandma in a nicer apartment for a year. I'd be 16 then and I could get a job, maybe go back to school. I could be with my brother. I typed my response. Larry, he was in remission, but he came back at stage 4. There's a new experimental treatment, but I need $20,000. I've got half, but all my money is wrapped up in the new business. Not for you to worry. I'll figure it out. I wait for emphasis. Larry, maybe I'll sell the yacht. Helen loves the fake yacht. Helen, don't be silly. I'll loan you the 10,000, and when he's better, you can take me sailing. Larry, you are an amazing woman, Helen. Trey, I lean over and whisper, can you open up me up a checking account? Trey raises an eyebrow but taps the keys for 5 minutes, then hands me an account number in Larry's name. Trey understands. Helen, darling Larry, do you want me to send it to the usual account? Larry, no, dearest, that account was hacked. But I got a brand new account I want you to send it to. That was Catfish. All right, next one is called Hunter Barkley. I didn't mean to crush that guy. Didn't even know I could, but it didn't surprise me. Not really. Not after what Zach did. I don't regret it either. Does that make me a bad person? It made me feel awful. Kind of messed me up at first. 10 years old and I ended some guy's life. Am I going to become some kind of superhuman serial killer? I don't want to be a supervillain. Sure, I joke around, do a few pranks. Maybe I don't follow all the rules like my perfect twin brother Hayden, but I'm not a criminal. I can be good like him. Or can I? We don't even look alike. I'm tall, stocky, curly blonde hair like Zach. Only thing that's the same is our brilliant blue eyes. Should I be more like my twin? Hayden. He can't be dead. Mom says he's not. She's sure him and Zach are alive. I should have done something. Should have. Slumping to the ground, I drew in a breath, trying to calm my heaving stomach. I dried my wet cheek with my shirt. No one's going to see me cry. Not anymore. I got to be strong. Got to protect my family, like I should have done before. I just stood there, frozen, staring at my brother. Doctor jabbed him in the neck with a needle, and I just stood there. Zach yelled something, but I couldn't take my eyes off Hayden, his thin, limp frame, straight blonde hair. Then it got weird. Zach lit up, glowed like a light bulb. The wall behind me exploded. Chunks of drywall and ceiling flew past me. They stabbed Zach with a needle, too, just as his voice boomed into my head. I didn't hear him. The collapsing building was too loud. His voice was in my head. Then Mom dragged me and Logan out of the building. I'm Hayden's twin brother. I'm twice as big as him. I'm supposed to protect him, but I just stood there, motionless. Not this time. Guess that's why when this dude came at Logan like that, I had to protect at least one of my brothers. While we were on the way to the cabin, Mom said Aunt Adeline told her something bad was happening at her hospital, and everyone needed to go hide out for a while. We should have left before the hockey game. Hayden wouldn't have got hurt. We wouldn't have gone to urgent care. She said the global organizational health department was doing something to kids, telling parents their kids died of cold flu 20, but she said the kids were fine minutes before, just like my brothers. They told mom the same thing. They died of cold flu 20. They weren't sick. Besides, wasn't that stupid vaccine supposed to make it to where we don't get sick? I saw what they did. Is that why they came after us? Or do they know what I can do, what my brothers can do? Did that vaccine cause this? Give us these powers? I couldn't do this stuff before. I've been different since I got that shot. I'll probably never know. Anyway, mom thought we were safe so far from home. We pulled into the rest stop. I went into the boys' bathroom with Logan and our little cousin Colin. I didn't notice anyone around, but when I came out, three big guys in masks were blocking the door. One grabbed Logan, another snatched Colin. The third came at me, calling orders to the other guys. Take the kids to the van, he said. Logan bit the guy hard. Blood gushed from his hand, and Logan bolted from the door, but it was blocked. The man reached for Logan with his bloody hand. He couldn't get away. The fear fogging my brain seemed to burn away with the rage that washed over me. Not gonna let them take any more of my family. Heat engulfed me, like scorching me from the inside, and anger pulsed through me. I pushed my hands toward the man holding Logan. My voice came out like a growling animal. Get away from my brother! Pressure filled my ears. The air around me was heavy, solid, as it blasted into the man. He flew backward into the mirror. I heard bones snap, the mirror shatter. There was a sickening thunking sound like when we crushed a watermelon at Aunt Adeline's farm. The man slid down the wall, his face and chest deflated. Blood oozed from his blank eyes and flattened nose. The man that was after me got knocked down by the part of the blast and tried to scramble out on his knees behind the third guy. Stomach twisting, threatening to empty, I stared at the crumpled man. Two more men entered the bathroom, one bigger and scarier than the first. Nausea rose in my throat. Could I do it again? Will I have to crush these men too? Logan pulled at my hand. Let's go, he said, but I didn't move. Sucking in a breath, I steadied myself. I wasn't even sure how I did it. I didn't want to do it again. I couldn't stop staring at the ruined mess on the floor. A soft voice from behind startled me. Hunter, it's okay. Mijo. Caleb sent me. He knows my name. He knows my older brother. The man rested his hand on my shoulder, and I realized I had heard his voice before. Caleb's boss? My eyes blurred with tears. Everything that happened over the last few hours weighed on me, threatening to devour me. Let's go to your mom, he whispered. His words pulled away the last barrier I had, the loss of Zach and Hayden, almost losing Logan, what I had to do to protect us. It all rushed out of me like an avalanche. Tears streaming, I buried my face in the man's side. Relief flooded through me for the moment. But I know this is only the beginning. That was Hunter Barkley. All right, and we have one final story. The dragon. Well, look who we ran into. My feet became laden. They had me. My body waited in place from shock more than fear. Their hunt for me wasn't some passing fancy if they'd followed me into the nightmare forest. Didn't they read the legends? Surely their orders didn't include tracking down a defector to the point they were risking their best guardsmen. But there he was, Fallon with his dragon, his two goons flanking each side. Fallon stood tall. Who wouldn't with a dragon of that size at his back? And that dragon was every bit as commanding on the ground as from the sky, black scales glimmering in the soft sunlight of the forest clearing. Not a hint of emotion on Fallon's face, but his mount sneered enough for the both of them. Hilda requests your present at guards headquarters, Arlet Wicks. Fallon noticed my winced at his use of my full correct name. His smirk confirmed his pleasure at my discomfort. Pseudonyms had been the name of my game for so long, hearing my name as my parents had intended cut deep. Would they be proud of my strength despite the fear for the name that was supposed to stand for so much? Or would they shun their only child for shirking the duty to her country, refusing the role in the guard? Pride. I had to believe it'd be pride, at least from my father. I could hear him now, hands on each of my shoulders, instructing me on the escape options. The war hero sharing strategy with his daughter, even from the grave. Assess for weaknesses, Dad would say. Fallon, Bruck, and Trace, the most feared trio in the guard. Fallon, the best commander they'd seen. Trace to his right, saw everything and missed nothing. His mind speak magic, further proof of that talent. But Brock to the left, that one was too cocky for his own good. He was my target. A quick feint to the left and I'd have my opening. A path over Brock's shoulder, warned by the footsteps of many animals, would give me enough clearance to run, but not for them to follow with their mounts. Dragonfire was a concern. Sure, I half expected it would chase me into the forest, but all that depended on if I was more valuable alive than dead. I had to rely on the fact they seemed to need me for a reason, beyond catching the only person ever to defect from the Dragon Guard. Feet leaping one direction while my body flew the way I wanted to go, they fell for it. I had the edge I wanted on the cocky bastard, moving at record pace, only to halt at a blockade of glowing eyes and snapping teeth. I tossed a wall of flames between me and the living barricade without considering the consequences. Whoa, combat magic, man! Brock infused each word with surprise, but eyed me with greed. Realizing my error, the wall of fire faded through faded, though every muscle remained tense. Dripping fangs glinted in the shafts of light that reached into the shadowy forest. Wolves, many of them, as large as proclaimed in the midst of this land. Earth's magic. Of course he would. Fallon, that smug bastard. They follow my command. Right now, that command is to keep you from leaving this clearing. Beads of sweat trailed down my temples. Burn your way through the wolves, my brain seemed to argue. But my instincts held the reins of my magic, warring with my brain that combat was a mistake. Fallon, all heads, dragon included, swiveled to Trace. His eyes were squeezed tightly shut until they flung open wide and urgent. We're needed at the city, now. Fallon and Trace mounted their dragons without another word, but Brock didn't budge. What about the girl? Fallon glared at Brock, his dragon tossing a puff of steam Brock's direction. We are needed, did you not hear? Brock pursed his lips but said nothing as he hoisted his large form to mount. Into the sky with Trace. Await my arrival before you fly. The wind from Brock's dragon flight knocked strands of my messy hair into my face. Parting them back to each side, I gasped. A single green eye, probably the size half my skull, peered at me like it could see into my soul. Balance shifted, reminding me that indeed this dragon had a rider. Here, give me your hand. Hand? Are you crazy? A hand implied he intended to help me up. I wasn't going up. Ride with us to the city. Never. Both him and that invitation could rot in hell. Your combat magic would be highly valued, Fallon rolled his shoulders. Whatever they're calling us for will not be good. Like I care. This country and its problems could also rot in hell. Or you could stay here with the creatures of the forest. They were so eager to follow my command. I doubt they will stop once I leave. Fallon's dragon huffed another smoke cloud. The steam shows clearly his way of supporting his rider. This cursed magic. I should have never made a spectacle of it. Now, not only would I be hunted, but they knew I was more than a defector. I was a defector with impressive magic. Impressive magic. That was it. I had impressive magic. Magic that could defend me at any time, in any locale. Going with Fallon now didn't mean I was giving up. It meant I was saving my fight for another time. Another place. As if I needed the extra push, a growl sounded at my back, and I threw my hand towards Fallon. With a single tug and flex of his arm, I slid onto the back of my very first dragon. All right, that is the final story. As you can see, quite a variety of stories there to pick from, and I'm going to be sharing that survey here in just a second in the chat. I will give you a few minutes. Yes, order 1 through 10. They are listed in order in the survey as well. It's not alphabetical. It's listed in the order they were read. Little Miss Trojan Beckle, Getting the Story, Bad Choices, Lily, 6 to 1, Truth and the Lies, Welcome to the Future, Catfish, Hunted Barkley, and the Dragon. All right. All right. Uh, that was fun. I like, I love reading all the the stories there. It's really cool to see, all the different things that people, can come up with. That is for sure. Some of you did go the fantasy route, and as I said earlier, while we're waiting for the results to come in, I do want to talk about some of the events coming up. We do have the fantasy writing package where you can learn how to write better fantasy stories, but we'll also have workshops that get tied in with that, which are the world building workshop and the fantastical creatures workshop. So it's a fully rounded event. It's going to be a lot of fun, uh, hosted by me as well. Ah, yes, thrilled to have made the top 10. Yes, so many good stories, so many good stories. It's always fun, right? And we recommend it. You know, it is tough. So if you didn't make it this time, try again. Uh Next month, we actually have a new challenge, the Deep Point of View Challenge. So we're going to be kicking that off very, very, very soon. In fact, I'll go ahead while you're waiting for those results to come in, and I will throw that into the chat here. If I have that. Yep. I can go ahead and throw it here into the chat if you want to sign up for that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's really nice. And for those of you who want to type it out, this is going to be the link to find for that. So yes, feel free to join us for the deep point of view. Another. We have a lot of top 10 watching live. That's great. I'm so glad that you were able to experience that. Fantasy Sci-Fi Club is something that we do on a regular basis. Tonight, though, we have something very special. So you're like, I don't write fantasy sci-fi. Well, tonight it is open to all genre, and we're going to do our Pitch It session. This is open to anybody who's an AutoCrit Pro member. You don't need to buy an extra ticket or anything like that. This is something we do on a regular basis, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be giving feedback to pitches. So either a pitch of I've written this book. I want to know the best way to sell it, or I'm not sure if this is a good idea. Should I even pursue this? You can join us tonight and you can pitch it live. Mondays, we have our accountability club, and that's going to be at 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern, and that is hosted by Catherine, who does a fantastic job of motivating you for the week. And yeah, it's great because you can kick your week off, get some wind in your sails and get motivated. You can share what it is that you are hoping to accomplish that week, and then you can get accountability because they're going to follow up with you. The other people in the group are going to be like, "Okay, what'd you do? Did you get all that done?" And all of those things. All right, I'm trying to find the results for this survey here. Ooh, it is very close right now. So please keep voting if you have not voted yet, because we currently have a tie. So I'm gonna give it another couple of minutes here. I like this. Are we pitching a blurge, a logline? Anything goes, right? You can pitch anything. Please try to keep it brief so we have a lot of people involved, right? So blurb, logline, elevator pitches are all fine. Something like a full-fledged, 300 word synopsis. No, that's not exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for something briefer than that. And again, that's just so everybody has an opportunity to be involved. All right. I'm going to call it in one more minute. You got one more minute to vote, everybody. Oh, no. Now we have almost a four-way tie. This was tough. Quite a spectrum of responses here. Brief is not your forte. Well, this is the time to learn, Tim. Tim and I have a lot of fun together in our live session. All right. I'm gonna throw that link one more time because I was really hoping if I can get a definitive result, but oh wow, no, looks like it is going to be a tie. Give it 30 more seconds. Just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to vote. Very close between the top four. This is probably, well, and this isn't probably, this is in fact the tightest challenge we've ever had. You tried to vote often, but the survey is too much. Wow, we almost have a four-way tie going now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call it though. So, congratulations, top four. You all did a fantastic job. So tied for, barely not tied for second place. I'm gonna say tied because it is so ridiculously close. Is Welcome to the Future and the Dragon. Excellent, excellent entries there. And tied for the lead here is 6-1, which was the baseball story, and Bad Choices, which was the secret room story. Both like kind of gothic story. Both of those were excellent as well. Congratulations to both of you. You can expect to get an email later on this afternoon, and we will give you some options in terms of your prizes for winning. But certainly, you get the glory for winning what was a very challenging challenge. I'm glad I did not have to pick a winner because that would have been really hard for me for sure. Thank you, thank you. Oh, is that you, Blur? Are you one of them? I don't know the names, so Sharon's one of them. Are you one of them? Tied for second. Yeah, good job, good job. Oh yes, Scott. Oh, I didn't know. That's awesome. Good job, Scott. Fantastic. You were bad choices. Awesome. Well, thankfully, people made the right choice and they went for that story. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Fantastic. Fantastic, everybody. Oh, thank you so much, Scott. Scott is wonderful. Scott shows up to a lot of our academy. He's a great student. Awesome. Yeah, really, it was almost four winners. The difference between all four of you was just one response. So you had one extra you tied for the amount of people voting for the top two and one less person for each. I don't even know. I can't parse words. It's so exciting. Was second place. So it was really close. It was really close. Oh, you were Hunter Barkley. Good job. Fantastic. That actually was fifth place. So yeah. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. If only Tim could have voted twice. You could have had it. You could have had it. Use my numbers right. I'm not very mathematical. I'm more of an artist. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate all of your efforts, and I really look forward to seeing you next week for the D Point of View Challenge. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. We have way more coming your way. Thank you to everybody, and you have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone. Bye.